Like, you wanted to sleep with me all summer, and you know how careful I was being and how intentional I was moving and how cautious I was being. Yet you got everything you wanted out of me, and I got literally the bare minimum.
Virtual reality. Hi, I'm Danny Murphy.
And I'm Evan Real.
And while summer should be fun, cuffing season sometimes gets a little too real, even for reality TV. And we noticed this to be true between Ciara and Wes, because Evan, were you as shocked as I was about the reveals they were revealing? Because this was like the best kept secret Bravo, I think, has held on from us.
Were you sleeping with other people over the summer?
Open it up.
Yeah. No, I was and am completely still in total shock. I did not think this much tea was going to be spilled, but we got into everything that happened after the cameras went down. And it seems like Ciara and Wes really gave it a shot.
We went to his parents' house.
Okay.
We went and stayed with his brother in Chicago. We went to a wedding.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Wow. Okay. So you were kind of, so September, October, November, it sounds like you were dating for real.
Or I guess Ciara thought they were giving it a shot, and then Wes ended up playing some sort of game that we litigated at the reunion.
You feel like Wes was playing a game with you?
Definitely.
And what was the game?
The game was like, oh, you're coming in a summer house, it's cool, you're on a TV show, like you can't wait for the followers, you can't wait for the hype.
I don't know, where do you fall? Are you feeling Team Ciara, Team Wes, Team...
Well, first, because I love that we've both interviewed them, and they've done a lot of interviews throughout the season and have been very, judicial about what they say. Like, they weren't really going that much in, and I love that they saved it for the reunion because, there was a lot for them to talk about. I feel any person who has dated in New York knows the feelings all too well of where Ciara was coming from, where she's like, we went to your parents, we went to a wedding, we stayed at your brother's house, and then you're like confused that it's a relationship come December. West, you know better than that. Now you know, and also here's the thing, because we know Wes was the #1 guy in the group, got the New York Times spread, everything like that, and we know he knows, but he still did.
Right, totally. And that's the thing too. It's like they got really serious really fast, especially by New York standards, like you were saying. They even, as they mentioned at the reunion, after cameras went down, they did sleep together.
Did you sleep together?
Yes.
Yes.
That was the thing in their relationship. There was
also,
a lot of talk about
Andy just being like, we have to address, did you guys, like, thank you for Andy, because that was such the thing that they were holding off on, and I feel like that is really what made Ciara as upset as she was with him, because she's like, you know how much that step means to me, and for her to take the step with him, thinking it's something, only for it to be not.
You said that when you have sex with someone, you're more prone to catch feelings for them.
Well, I'm just like not out here sleeping with whoever. Like, I don't want to give myself to everyone.
Right, like it was such a big deal for her to even get that far with him, and then for him to back off, cool off, whatever it was, get into those DMs. It's also, the timeline is so weird to me because it's like he had the foresight that he would be a big deal on the show and how fame might impact his chances of getting laid or connecting with women, or it seems like he was playing that card very early because
I've done a couple watch parties where people show up and do whatever, and that's pictures, and it's the Bravo fan base is all women, like just these random things that I've never experienced before. And if
too many temptations.
The DMs were started to flood even before anyone knew he was on the show. So I'm a little bit confused by that. But I mean, I guess like the Bravo fans are sleuthy and you can figure out who's on the next season, and they just wanted to get there early.
They did, I remember like in the middle of the summer, people were able to figure out that it was West and Jesse who were joining. But I don't remember seeing a lot of photos of like Ciara, because he was like, he started to hate that it was a lot Ciara with like newbie West, like spotted out and about.
Everything that we were tagged in or posted about or whatever was like Ciara and newbie guy, whatever.
And you didn't like that?
Well, and I was just like, am I just gonna be some dude who came on to the show and is just Ciara's puppet the whole time?
Which, to Paige's credit, she's like, what an honor to be her puppet, like, because it's Ciara Miller. Hello.
That would be a very lucky spot for you.
But I know I didn't really see that much of it, but I guess he was kind of getting those early DMs of like, oh, we love this man is handsome and he seems goofy and he seems silly and cool. Let's slide right in. Let's slide in before the verified check comes through, before the 10K followers come through. And I guess he was open to reading them.
What did you think of his argument about, I do watch parties and I pose for pictures with fans, and then Amanda immediately steps in and is like, Kyle does that all the time and I don't care. There's an understanding here in what we...
Kyle's off on Loverboy events, hugging women and kissing babies, and I'm happy at home. Like, there's an understanding there.
I mean, maybe this career is new to him, so he doesn't really understand that. He's also never navigated reality TV fame whilst having a relationship.
Okay.
So I guess it was like a lot of like new things that he wasn't aware of, but also I feel like it's a little common sensey.
Also, is it new to be at a party and someone flirt with you if you're a handsome person? No. What's the difference between a watch party and, you know, a friend of a friend's birthday party, or a watch party and going on like a big trip with a lot of your friends and your partner's not there and you go to a club? It's like, what were they supposed to do? I don't know, be in a relationship? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not really that rocket science-y and a hard thing to maneuver of just like being a friendly person without wanting to hop into bed with everyone you're being friendly with. So I didn't really get that excuse. I see his thought process as to why he thought that would be more of a slam dunk than it was, but I don't know.
And now I wonder if he regrets going that route, because if he didn't, we'd be at the reunion celebrating this very beautiful love story between him and Ciara, and then that, I believe, would endear him even more to the fan base. It might cause him to get more attention and more DMs, and then he'd have to figure out how to ignore them, because he would have been in a serious relationship if things had progressed the way Ciara probably thought they would progress or wanted them to progress. But I think he could have handled it if he just made a few different choices. And now the thing is, I feel like Ciara is one of those girls where it's like, once she gets the ick, that ick will stick, and it's done. It's a wrap. Like, it's never going to be a thing again.
What'd she say? No contact. She's going no contact.
Oh, Ciara's being cold. Like, she's not speaking to me.
Well,
of course, because I go no contact. I stopped talking to you altogether. Yeah, yeah.
And you think Paige is gonna contact positively? Paige was going, and I loved Paige really let him know everything.
We see the allure of her. I mean, you'd have to be blind to not. So we couldn't understand how the fame and like the lights and camera were so much more enticing than like your real life.
The one thing I will say, because Amanda was like, our fans would never like try to do anything with someone in a relationship. I'm not gonna give every fan that benefit of the doubt, because I'm sure a lot of them would try, but you could still not. But I know it really is such an alternate world where they were really celebrating everything. And then I think because like Wes kind of accidentally opened Pandora's box on himself of Paige to bring up, because I don't think if Wes and Ciara were happy, I don't think Paige would be like, and you were texting being so excited that people are loving this season while two people's lives were falling apart.
I mean, we had two people have the worst summer of their lives, and you're in our group chat being like, this is the best season of the show. This is so exciting. We were like, two people's lives are literally falling apart.
Paige, how much do you care that Lindsay and Carl's lives were falling apart? I don't know if it was top of her mind, but because of Wes' games and antics, she's like, and how could you say that in a group chat with them? You know what I mean? So she really was giving a lot of behind the scenes of Wes' energy, which I feel is gonna be leaving a very different impression for the fans.
Yeah, it is also very interesting that she did make that point about, Lindsay and Carl, when elsewhere in the reunion, she was talking about Lindsay apparently sabotaged some photo shoot.
I found out that over the summer, I had a photo shoot that was at a establishment that one of Lindsay's friends worked at, and they called each other on the phone to try and figure out how to sabotage that photo shoot.
What?
Which was such a funny and unexpected.
This was my lemon twist, because it was all like lemon themed. This was my lemon twist of the reunion, because when Paige was like, no, we got along so great, until I heard, and I'm like, what happened? I was so confused at the photography story. I was invested. I don't know what I believe, but it was a very unexpected twist.
I think what she was trying to say is that the venue or location where she was having a photo shoot, and Paige has lots of photo shoots. She's constantly doing brand partnerships, or just doing some fire content for the gram. She had some photo shoot booked, and apparently Lindsay knew the person who worked at this venue or location, and they talked some crap on the phone and try to figure out a way to sabotage.
What do you think they tried to sabotage? Like, that's what I want to know. What did they, because I'm assuming Lindsay's friends with like the manager of the restaurant. What would, in the world of what Paige overheard, like spitball, like turn the fire alarm on, like throw a arrabbiata sauce on her outfit? Like, I'm curious what the goal of potential sabotage would be.
I mean, I'm assuming that it would just be somehow figuring out a way to mess with the schedule. Like, oh, that day doesn't work, or this, just like figuring out different ways to fuck it up. But I think ultimately she did follow through with the photo shoot. I mean, Lindsay was acting very surprised.
I didn't know you had a photo shoot.
Lindsay.
And she had no idea what she was talking about. So if it did happen, the Oscar for Best Performance goes to Lindsay, because I felt she genuinely was shocked or confused.
I think she did look confused, and I would have loved if we got a new Roni catch moment where they bleep out the restaurant. You know, they should have done that, because I want to know what establishment this is. But not everyone on that couch besides Lindsay was safe from Paige, because her and Danielle, and the reveal that Danielle, well, I forgot that Lindsay actually revealed it, but what was your take on Danielle's defense of leaking the story about Craig? And she was like, yeah, it was really juicy.
Danielle, do you regret leaking that story?
At the time, I thought it was juicy as so I was like, yeah, that happened.
Right, and that's the person
But also,
you are.
that's weird, though.
It resonated with me as a host of this podcast and as a journalist at Page Six. I was like, yeah, Danielle, that's right. It was really juicy. And sometimes it just feels right to confirm things. You and I do that all the time, Danny. So I feel like Danielle was just being one of us, one of the girls, one of the Page Six girlies. So yeah, I appreciated that defense, and I'm here for it. I wish that the cast of Summer House had a better understanding of what journalism is, because they kept doing the screenshot of the article and saying Danielle wrote the article, but she also
I know.
to moi. My friends, Amanda and Paige, please hear me. Please listen to me, girls. She did not write the article. Someone, a journalist, reached out to her because there was apparently a relationship, and she confirmed what she thought to be true. So then a story was written by someone else. She did not have access to the WordPress for that program. She did not type anything unless it was a text message to that journalist. So there was no byline. There wasn't a byline for Danielle. So she did not write the article.
No, I know it reminded me of last year when Paige was like, had the whole thing about the people exclusive with Lindsay and Carl, and then they're like, no, that's also not how that totally works. And Paige worked in media, so Paige, you again, like Wes know better. Paige, you did know a little bit better with that. And also, I think they were like very confused of like how they're like, how would anybody know where Carl and Lindsay lives? They post about. I thought it was a sponsored apartment. Like I'm like, everyone knew. I think the paparazzi just knew where they lived.
Yeah, it's very easy to track down where Carl and Lindsay live. And I am of the thought that Lindsay did not call the paparazzi on Carl.
Because to her defense too, she's like, well, I couldn't leave. She's like, if she called the paparazzi, you know, she would have been looking glam. It would have been like a Heidi Montag sitting. Like if Lindsay wasn't doing that, she was like, no, guys, she didn't say she never calls him on herself, but she said she didn't do it in that moment.
And the fact that like you think that I would call them on the two of us, so I'm stuck inside, is bullshit.
Yeah, not in that moment. And honestly, I really believed her. Kind of like the way I believed her about the whole Flower Boy situation. I know that was a whole point of contention this season. And from what we saw this season, I was inclined to believe that Lindsay was behind some Flower Boy shade. But the way that she explained it really made a lot of sense for me. There was supposed to be an even number of bridesmaids versus groomsmen. Carl has a lot of non-Summer House friends that filled up those 9 spots.
And he does. They roll deep at events. Like he has a lot of friends.
Like a big entourage. So they took up the groomsmen party, and then Lindsay said that she was like, well, we got to do something with the Summer House boys. Let's make them Flower Boys. So I understood that. And then there was a back and forth about what was said, what was not said. But Lindsay was talking about, you said this in a confessional, and then immediately said afterwards that we didn't have that conversation. So what's it going to be, Mr. Radke? Like, what is it going to be?
I also wanted Kyle. Kyle was really, I think, trying to be Team Carl for this reunion, which makes sense. But I wanted to know his thoughts a little bit more about when Lindsay said, if you had a backup groomsman who was from Summer House, who would it be? And Carl said Andrea.
What happens, Carl, if you have a groomsman that backs out, if they have an emergency, whatever, who would you then fill that spot with? Kyle, Andrea, or Luke? And he said Andrea.
Yeah.
Huh?
What?
I love Andrea, but I don't know. I didn't know they were close like that.
Yeah, maybe we're missing something. We gotta ask Andrea a few questions. I mean, he would look great in a suit. Hello.
He would. But also, I feel there was a lot of, and it always, we'll see what the fans have to unpack with it all. But I think Lindsay was making a lot of sense this reunion. We're about the deposit and about the rent. Contracts are contracts, and she worked in PR, so she knows a contract and she knows what is due and when.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, like, this reunion, and I feel like the majority of the Bravo fandom has been feeling very Team Lindsay towards the second half of this Summer House season. And yeah, a lot of what she was saying was really, it was landing for me. Like, you signed a lease. You also signed a lease a month before you broke up with me. And at that point, it seems like she was mentioning, and I'm just inclined to believe it because I feel like we've seen some of the receipts play out on screen, is that Carl was planting seeds for the breakup to happen and sort of setting that plan in place by having that, especially now that we know that the bombshell info that he had that discussion with his parents at the beginning of the summer, and then it was like spliced into the end of the season, which is so confusing to me. But like, clearly he was a man with a partial plan, because he didn't plan for, you know, having to pay his rent for 9 months late, whatever, after the breakup, etc. And then Lindsay was like, do you want a pat on the back for paying your rent? And then he says, I would like a high five.
Do you want a pat on the back for that?
Maybe a high five.
All right, well, listen.
Oh, that set me off. You know that set me off. I was like, I'm shocked. Lindsay didn't really get that activated. And I'm shocked because the high five moment really hit a nerve for me personally. And it kind of was just like, what are you doing here? And it also is this energy is why I get she's cheesing with her Cheez-Its to throw a little bit of shade on him on Instagram, present day, which...
Wait, we got to talk about this for a second, because if you guys are not aware, Lindsay and Carl are in somewhat of a social media sponsored post.
A SponCon spar.
Yeah, a SponCon spar. It's like Cheez-Its versus Goldfish. And let me tell you, Lindsay buried his ass in goldfish dust with her post. It was
when
so...
she said, my all-natural smile, because she said, it may some people have the snack that smiles back, but my all-natural smile's cheesing. And then, like, some people say an influencer is not a job because it's a woman. But, like, she didn't hold anything back, and I feel, I can only assume it hit a nerve with.
It was giving very much Ariana Duracell partnership.
Yes.
Where she was not only collecting a check and adding to the bag, but she was responding to all the, I don't want to call them like, they're sort of like mansplaining critiques of Lindsay, you know what I'm saying? Like, the only reason she's making money as an influencer is because she's a woman. I mean, there are a lot of very successful male influencers on social media, Carl, and it could have been another job you were interested in that didn't work out, but that's not Lindsay's fault.
No, and it also doesn't help that goldfish spawn has been getting memified as well, the emancipation of Mimi, because people are having a little bit of a field day with the photo. So I feel like Lindsay kind of knew that and was like, oh, let me add a little bit of my razzle-dazzle to it. But I gotta hand it to Cheez-Its.
A part of me feels like Lindsay was the one who reached out to Cheez-Its, because she does have that PR brain.
Genius if so.
You know?
And can I tell you, I love both of those snacks, so I'm down to eat any of them.
Same. Actually, no, that's not true. I do have a preference, and I'm not going to say it right now, because I might be a little Team Lindsay at the moment, but I'm not going to take teams when it comes to cheese snacks.
Oh, interesting.
Or publicly. I won't publicly take teams, because I would let Cheez-Its or Goldfish, either of them, sponsor this podcast. So give Danny and I a call, please.
We have natural smiles too. Hey.
Unfortunately.
So while that's to come, I also am kind of curious what part 2 is going to really dive into, because I feel there is, like, even though like Wes and Ciara kind of said their piece, I feel a lot more people are going to have a lot more to say about their whole situation, and more Carl, Lindsay. Like, it really is just kind of like unpacking these failed relationships.
Yeah, I feel like those are the two obviously major storylines of this season. And I feel like we learned a lot about each situation in part 1 of the reunion. So the fact that there is another hour-long situation waiting for us, I can only imagine what more will be revealed. But I'm excited for it.
I am too. Wait, poor little Jesse Solomon trying to defend his boy from across the room.
I know. What would Jesse Solomon do? He would do his best to make sure that West was taken care of, because West took care of him this season. And I feel like, Danny, you and I, like Paige said, she cooked West a little bit. I feel like we cooked West a little bit at the beginning of this recap, but we want to make it clear. We love West. We are big fans of West. And it could just be like a 1-season blunder. Like he'll figure it out. Like things can only go up for West from here.
Well, I think also he was kind of realizing it where he was trying to play. I mean, my oven was preheated, and Wes knows that it was. I think Wes understands that it is, like, the recipe's there.
Yeah.
I feel he would be better suited admitting his commitment phobia versus these other excuses, because I think that is the root of the issue.
My dad, more so than my mom, I think, has voiced his concerns for me and my lack of commitment and like dating history.
And I think that is more easier to digest in the recipe than his whole whatever other things he's saying. Because I think that's even what he said his parents were like, Wes, you're gonna look bad.
Really?
Yeah, you might have missed it. In the reunion,
I missed that.
Wes' parents are like, Ciara's amazing and you were acting like this? Like, huh?
They're the first 2 people to give me real, I feel like, anxiety from this whole experience.
Because they said what?
We think you're gonna look like an asshole, an idiot.
So I do feel like Wes knows. I think he's been getting cooked a little bit left and right. So I don't think this was anything new for him to digest.
Even at the beginning of the reunion, when Ciara walked in looking, I feel like the entire room stopped breathing in that moment. And then also they got right into it. Like, she's currently on a billboard in Times Square and she's going to have to show her exes. And then she's like, maybe some other people are going to have to go take a little trip to Times Square, clearly talking about West. And then West made that little snarl face. It was just like immediately tense from the jump. So I can't wait to see more tension.
I know. And poor little West thinking it was only an hour long of filming. Baby.
Do you think he really thought that? And then Amanda was like, oh yeah, the best hour of your life, babe. Like, oh my God. Wait, also speaking of Amanda, the flirty Jessie situation that's been happening on social media, when she ran it back about her assumption that Wes likes to F-U-C-K and that Jessie is just a humper. She was like, now I know, or now I have a feeling that Jessie also likes to take it to Pound Town, and not in just a humpy way, like in a more substantial way. I don't know. I was picking up some feelings. There is something between them for me.
All the boys and all the girls are begging to if you seek Amy. I don't know, but we'll say. I cut to that's part 2 of the entire reunion. It's just that's actually the best kept secret. They're in a poly relationship.
That'd be hot.
Oh, yeah.
No? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll join, make it a quintet.
I guess they need to have a bigger apartment if they want a 5-person. It's New York City. They would have to move to Jersey. They need a house for a 5-person poly.
You know what? If they start a polyamorous relationship, we join and it becomes like a 5-some, that will then create space for Amanda to finally make her wish come true of moving to Danny.
Wait! And also, like, Amanda...
Code.
Amanda, I think we are your dream relationship because all I want to do is sit on the couch and watch Bravo and not leave my house. So, like,
just sit on the couch, pet the dogs, like, hang out. It's perfect. And then, like, Jesse and Kyle can do what I guess boys do.
Whatever. It's about to be a sword fight. I don't know, but I'm excited for all of us. This seems like it's going to be a fun summer.
Oh, yeah.